Hey everyone, this is Micah, and I am super excited. I don't know if you can hear that in my voice, but I've got a new twist on my life off the page. So before you were reading what I had to say and then listening, and now after I have rediscovered PowerPoint, I have put something a little bit different together where we have some words, my voice, and some pictures. So I'm really excited about that. Also, very curious to see how this will go with recording on Zoom and everything. So I hope you like it. And again, this is one now it's not just listening, but it's watching, it's reading. I'm going to have some pauses just to ponder over some of the questions and things that I pose. And so it's my intention that you'll get something unique out of this that's hopefully a great gift, a contribution in your life. So with that, we are going life off the page because each of us is more than an identity, the confines of a page, of a piece of paper. We are so much more than that. So let's get out of the boundaries and borders that society, that life that we've set for ourselves to be something that's who we truly are, or in this case today, the art of who we are. And you'll see here this nice splash of art. Some of these pictures you're going to see I took myself, which I'm super proud about. And some of them like this one I didn't. But again, I hope everyone gets something out of this as much as I did putting it together. It was a lot of fun. So let's go. First question, and this is a wonderful inquiry that I've had for myself lately. What would add more fun, joy, and relaxation into your life? And just wanted to pause there for a moment. And if you noticed in the picture, I just have to mention this is one of the pictures that I took in this episode. I got it from Brookside Gardens in Silver Spring, Maryland. It's a really nice, smaller botanical gardens full of different flora, fauna, I think that's the word you use, and some pretty water fountains and really cool art. So if you're ever in the Maryland area and you want to see a nice botanical gardens, this is a place I highly, highly recommend. Cannot tell you what the flowers are. I did not take a picture of the nameplate, but I've never seen these before anywhere. And I've been to a few gardens before. So I do hope you enjoy these and get something out of it. So again, what would add more fun, joy, and relaxation into your life? I ask myself this. How can I add more fun in the work that I do? How can I add more joy when I wake up in the morning? More relaxation in spaces and places where I can usually get very stressed. And it's a question that I can't answer for you, but a question that might pique your interest in what it would take to add more of those elements into your life so that life is more fun, it is more joyful, it is more relaxing, particularly as we're at a time, a day and age where a lot of change is happening, both on this planet and cosmically, which I will talk a little bit about later. And then also just as a society, no one can run away from the COVID stuff, no matter where you stand on that. So life is always presenting us opportunities, even with the challenges that are at hand. So, add more fun, add more joy, relaxation. For me, taking pictures, being a part of the earth, connecting with elements of the earth, like the flowers you see here, is something that I enjoy doing. I commit to a yoga practice in some way to relax more. And I just also take moments to slow down. Slow down. When the energy gets really big, when things get really stressed, I remind myself to slow down, and that helps me relax. As I say in my yoga classes, the slower you breathe, the quicker you slow your heart rate down, the more calm you're going to be, the more relaxed you're also going to be. And the more relaxed you are, the more apt you're going to be able to receive. And when I say receive, receive everything. Receive from the environment that's around you, receive from the present moment, receive insights, ideas, many different things. So I invite you, whatever comes up when this question brings up for you, to explore what relaxation is for you, what fun is, what joy is. Maybe the greatest joy is just simply hearing the birds sing in the morning, or cooking your favorite food, seeing your children, going to a work environment that you really love, listening to people you love, listening to music. Fun, gosh, fun could be so many different things, right? Like I love to dance, and some of the things that I really like to do, people may not notice, but sometimes I take walks at night and I dance at night. I dance in the streets at night. I know it sounds really funny, it might sound really quirky, but it's a lot of fun to do. And I'm fortunate that I live in a good neighborhood and I trust myself and my environment. So yeah, sometimes it's nice when nobody's out to dance in the middle of the street, listen to your favorite song, and feel like you're living in your own musical. We can all do something like that, whether you want to dance at night or dance during the day, dance at work, dance in the grocery store, or however that fun looks like for you. So again, what does fun look like for you? Joy, relaxation, and let's see if we can incorporate more of that some way, somehow into our lives. It's whatever contributes to you, whatever is a great gift for you, whatever's going to enliven you to be more of you and have a greater life. Because as I mentioned a little bit earlier, change, probably some turbulence is going to continue to come because, you know, that's life and that's the society we live in. But just because that is going on, that doesn't mean that we can't, you know, make the most of the life that we have and have more fun, joy, and relaxation. Ah, I love this picture. I would love to go to a place one day that looks like this. So as we have more fun, more joy, more relaxation, we can also invite ourselves to find what is intrinsically beautiful. What is intrinsically beautiful? What is intrinsically beautiful about us when we look at ourselves in the mirror? What is intrinsically beautiful about what we're looking at right now? Maybe this picture, maybe something outside. Maybe it's in the work that you do, it's in what you write, it's in what you say. But find what is intrinsically beautiful. I think that is a really great way to also invite more fun, more joy, and more relaxation into your life. Beautify all things in your life in whatever way. You really like to shop and you're really great at finding beautiful clothes or beautiful furniture. It could be something materialistic. Could be food, having a colorful diet. That could be intrinsically beautiful. For me, what is intrinsically beautiful are flowers, because as you'll notice, I take a lot of those kinds of pictures. I find the stars intrinsically beautiful. The trees intrinsically beautiful. And, you know, there are moments, I have pauses where I'm really relaxed and I find that life itself and the life that I'm a part of also as intrinsically beautiful. Finding what is intrinsically beautiful. And when you find it, again, add that to your life. It doesn't have to be just traveling somewhere and taking a photo. Maybe there's an element of peace, of relaxation, like this picture here that invites so much beauty and stillness that you can keep with you. So that no matter what is going on, you can always have your inner peace, your inner beauty that's always there, that can actually radiate from you and radiate more into your life. Now I just want to be here in a moment, just sit with the picture a bit. It's like kindness and gratitude, peace and calm. Kindness and gratitude, peace and calm. Kindness and gratitude, peace and calm. Intrinsically beautiful. So this is another picture I took from Brookside Gardens. And as you see, there's a water fountain. This is an example of filling your vessel. And I will kind of pause my voice for a few moments. If you want to just sit with what that means for you. I have a take on what it means for me. But, please take a few moments if you'd like, just to allow that to sink in. Okay, well, other than I think the water fountain is very beautiful. Again, something intrinsically beautiful, or at least something that I find to be intrinsically beautiful. Filling your vessel, for me, at least my perspective, my point of view, is as simple as what you fill your body with. Your vessel could very well be your body. And filling it with proper hydration, food, maybe some other beverages, the sweets and the treats and the other good stuff. Sometimes people like a Prosecco or a bourbon or two, coffee like me, and coffee and croissants, things like that. But filling your vessel can also be about other things that we consume. It could be things we consume on social media. We're filling our vessels with that. If we watch a lot of TV, what are we consuming there, and filling our vessels with that? Filling our vessels with the kind of people we're around, the environment that we're in. So, as you can see here, this is a vessel. This beautiful blue art is full of water, and it's got a nice fountain going, and it's overflowing a bit. But then it's also surrounded by many trees, some people you see here. So there's like a whole environment, basically. And so it's an opportunity. There's like a vessel within the vessel of the gardens. And, you see people there, their vessels, chairs. So basically, we're filling our vessels with different things all the time, the environment that we're in. And as I said, all the things that we're consuming. And I know for me lately, and really all of the time, but particularly the past, year and a half, I've been way more mindful of what I fill my vessel with. Everything from the kind of music I listen to, obviously the food I eat, also what I consume, if I watch TV, or the kind of social media things I consume. Because, you could have like this. This blue vessel here seems like it's overflowing with some beautiful waters. I don't know what's going on with the green stuff at the bottom. I think some people pouring coins and stuff there. And, that's really great. And some of us might be overflowing with stuff that might be kind of like, junk. Now, one person's junk is another person's treasure. So keep in mind that, what's junk for you or treasure for you may be junk for someone else, which is also why I say, when you fill your vessel, and I wanted to give a moment of pause, is just to get a sense of, what does fill your vessel mean to you, or what filling my vessel means to me, because we might have a different perspective, which is totally fine. I always say, go with what's true for you. But yeah, that is a very good point. Someone else, I think it's one man's junk is another man's treasure. Yeah. So when we are filling our vessels, yes, let's be mindful of what we are filling ourselves with. Are we doing things that, again, going back to that theme, things that bring us more fun, more joy, more relaxation, filling ourselves up with things that are intrinsically beautiful. Like I said, I find this water fountain very beautiful. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. The trees and everything, gardens. Are we filling ourselves with activities? I mean, yes, many of us have some type of work or thing that we do to bring money in, and that's fine, but hopefully we can add something that adds some fun, some joy, some relaxation in the work that we do. And if we're not, we can always change that. But yes, let's be mindful of what we're filling our vessels with, because what we put in is, as you see in this water fountain here, what can pour out. And that is something that we pour out, not just for ourselves, but out into the world and the people we interact with. So we just let us all be mindful of what we put in our vessels, and also know that we can always change it. If you don't like what you're putting in, if you don't like what you're consuming, you can always change it. Whether that is a job, whether that's the food you eat, whether it's what you see on TV, social media, even the friends that you have or the people you most associate with. You know, it's not so much about, you know, everything has to be perfect and you have to cut everybody and everything off, but just being mindful of, or just knowing that what each of us consumes has a ripple effect. And in fact, if you look below the water fountain, you see the ripples, right? In the water fountain, you see the ripple effect. And we all have a ripple effect in this world, whether we know it or not. So what we put in ourselves, it vibrates out. It carries a frequency, a vibration, if you will, and that impacts everything around us. And everything else around us has a ripple effect as well. So each of us are impacting our environment's impacting us. So let's be mindful of what we're putting in our vessels and know that we can always change it. So again, know that the more, again, it could be fun, it could be relaxation, it could be peace, it could be kindness, gratitude, it could be change, it could be, you know, something else that's true for you that really empowers you. And the more you put that in, the more you radiate that out. And, you know, putting in more peace in your life could be something like just sitting still in the morning or being in a place of prayer, meditation, but maybe the food you eat inspires more peace. You know, you never know. Peace can show up in different ways, right? A plant could inspire peace, going to a garden, things like that. So that's an example. So let's fill our vessels with things that we would like to have, things that we would like to be, things that actually we already are. You know, we actually, peace and beauty, calm, kindness is something we already inherently have. So let's use it, let's radiate that out, so to speak, and choose more things that fill our vessels with what we love, what we enjoy. Yes, let us do that. All right, so we're shifting gears a little bit. This is something that I love to talk about because yes, no matter what your astrology says, your Zoltan cosmology says, your Vedic astrology says, whatever, we all have various archetypes in us, and that includes a warrior. We all have an inner warrior. And that inner warrior, from my perspective, is someone who's very much the protector element, the one who makes a stand. We are able to make a stand for who we are, for our values, our beliefs. As I said, we are protectors for who and what we love. So we all have that. We all have that ability to fight. We all have the ability to draw a sword. We all have the ability, if we, you know, heaven forbid, a war, right? But we all have the ability. We all have the ability to fight our inner demons, to challenge the inner critic, to challenge the critics generally, right? We all have that ability to have this strength, inner and outer strength, that this is who we are, this is what we stand for, and you're not going to change that. Here I am. Here I am. And yet, as the question poses, But when do we pick up the sword or put it down? And well, I mean, we look no further than, you know, some of the COVID stuff, and people have different, very different perspectives on it, obviously. That's probably not the best example to use, but there are other, just for the sake of conversation, there's that. But just out in our daily lives, when do we pick up the sword? When do we decide, okay, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, and I'm telling people about it. I'm telling this person about it. I am speaking about it on social media or an email. It could be some dialogue you have with a coworker, a family, a friend, someone you meet out in the street. Sometimes there is a point where it's like, look, this is not someone trying to instigate something, right? But you might be in a conversation, or you just kind of get the sense of, you know what, I'm going to say something. I know people aren't going to like it. It might be the minority viewpoint or whatever it may be, but this is what I have to say. This is what I feel is true for me, and this is something I think people need to know. And sometimes we have that happen, or we have people who think that they can walk over us and attack us, and we're like, no, this is who you're really dealing with. I'm here to make a stand for myself. You're not going to treat me like this. You're not going to talk to me like this. You know, we're done, we're over, or, you know, things got to change, and this is how it's going to change. So we pick up that sword. Not literally a sword, but that may be, a sword may be like our words, verbally, non-verbally. That's what I mean by sword. You know, in some cases, some people literally do pick up a sword or weapon and do fight. Okay, we get that. But this sword, I mean more metaphorically. So there is that element of picking up the sword. And each of us knows what that means for us when we have to pick up the sword and just say, like, look, this is what it is. This is how I feel. You know, and you're not changing it, and this, that, and the other. On the other end, of course, is when do we put it down? As in, okay, maybe now is not the time to say what I want to say. Or maybe I'm going to withhold that email or that text or that post. Maybe I'm going to engage with this person a little bit differently. Instead of burning the bridge, I'm going to, you know, leave the bridge as it is for now. There's always a case where it's easier to say that and everyone has to choose what works for them. But there are times we do want to lash out, defend ourselves, protect our values and everything, and just say, no, I'm not doing this. Civil disobedience, right? There is definitely a time for picking up the sword and practicing your civil disobedience. And then there's a time when, you know what, just in this case, I'm going to go along with I'm just going to go along with it, so to speak. Not acquiescing necessarily. We're not talking about acquiescing, but I'm going to allow you to say what you have to say. Maybe I'm going to be silent, or I'm just going to nod in agreement and honor what you have to say. And I'm going to leave my opinion or my perspective, my value, what I have to say alone for now. And I know for me that can be, it's not always the easiest thing to do, especially on the social media perspective. But I have chosen in many cases not to say certain things, honestly, and that's okay. And I know some of you may have as well. So when do we put it down? Well, you know, it's kind of like when we pick it up. It's something that we each have to choose for us. And the way I look at it is, how much life force, how much are we really exerting by picking up the sword and perhaps going into battle metaphorically with someone? Is that worth it? Is it worth it to express your viewpoints to someone who, you know, may respond a particular way, and then you're just exerting, again, more energy, more time, more effort? And here's the thing too, is it going to be something that leaves you exhausted? You know, sometimes it's very easy to wield the sword, to wield the weapon, to say what we have to say, but is it something that's leaving us exhausted by doing it? Are we honoring ourselves by doing this? Do we really take joy out of dishonoring someone else by just you know, just kind of going at it, so to speak, because you're going to honor someone else, even if since you have a totally different view from that. You can, you know, you can still be respectful. You can still, you know, put up your sword a little bit and be like, okay, this is what it is. I respect what you have to say, but, you know, you're not going to tell me what to do or how I need to live my life, right? And then there are some points where you just let that person talk and say what they want to say. And you're just like, and you just sit, you listen, you allow them to speak their piece, and you keep it moving, you know? Maybe there's a relationship that you're in that you just decide to leave without saying anything because you know what, if I say something, if I pick up my sword here, I'm just going to get in a knockdown, drag out fight that is just too much energy. I'd rather preserve my energy for something else that's going to, you know, obviously provide me more energy than something that's going to drain me. And, you know, that's not just dealing with external relationships, that can also be in the relationship with ourselves. You know, sometimes we all have our inner critic, an overactive ego, or the inner demons, however you want to put it, and we have our sword and we want to go at it, address it, clear it, heal it, and there definitely is a time and space for that. And sometimes we are just so much into just trying to fight our whatever it is that's going on in us, and work and work and work at it and clear it and heal it and make sure it never comes back, that it actually ends up being this exhaustive cycle that sometimes we can't find ourselves out of. You know, where it seems like the more we try to fight our, you know, those inner battles, the greater they become, you know? And from my experience, sometimes that happens, and it's interesting. I had an awareness where it was like, something was telling me, you know, Micah, some things, they want a fight. They are fed by fighting. And some of us probably have an inner critic that is fed by the fighting, by always having a battle, by always having a war. And that could be like, like an inner war, so to speak, or polar war, as I say. You know, you're vacillating from one side of things to the other in your head or in your emotions, right? And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to slow down, relax, and let it unwind. Let the inner critic unwind, let the inner demon play itself out and pull it away. It's amazing some things that you know, there's a really great power in letting go sometimes. When, you know what, I'm going to let you have your say. I'm going to let you exert all your energy, right? And that's what you can do with people too, not just with, you know, any inner battles that you have to face, but allow that to exert its energy, unravel itself, and it's gone. Or at least it doesn't have the same impact that it used to have. So there can be great power in putting the sword down and letting things go. Because you notice some things in life, some people, they are fed by a fight. They are fed by a battle. They are fed by war. That's all they want. They want to keep you in this loop of fighting things. But the moment you decide, or the moment you choose to let it go, it's like they have nothing to fight. Because they were fed by fighting to begin with. They were fed by your engagement. And now they're not. So they don't have anything to reap. So all they can do is just exert, like I said, exert all their energy out or unravel. Or, you know, they find something else to feed on. So I know that was a lot here. That may have been a lot for some of you. I know it's something that I've had to vacillate a lot with recently. Really, again, for the past year, but also just really for the past few weeks, is when do I pick up the sword and when do I put it down? And like I said, there's no direct answer here. Like I said, part of it is energy, just being aware of, are you exerting more life force, or you're exerting more energy? And is that giving you what you're asking for? Because if you're left exhausted, or you're left acquiescing, you know, you're just leaking stuff, you know, that's something that you may not really enjoy. And so you might want to choose something else. But there are times when picking up the sword does give you energy. There are times when letting things go also gives you energy. It gives you a sense of peace. It gives you a sense of calm. So either way, either one can be beneficial, can be a great gift. And it's really, it comes down to something very simple, but our own wisdom, our own discernment, and do we pick up the sword or we put it down? And it may also come simply from experience, where we have learned from our choices. We've gained more awareness from our choices when we picked up the sword and wanted to put it down or put it down and pick it back up, all of that. And so when the next experience comes, we have a greater awareness to choose, okay, I'm going to pick up the sword. I'm going to say my truth. I'm going to speak my values. I'm not going to wheel. I'm not going to bend backwards. I'm going to say it. I'm going to call it out. And this is what I feel. And, come hell or high water, this is where I am. This is where I stand, right? Or, you know what? If they want to come, if they want to fight, let them fight. Let them wear themselves out. I'm still going to be here. I know how to make a stand, but I don't have to exert anything. I'll just allow whatever they have to say, whatever they have to project to pass on through. Because at the end of the day, a warrior can do either one. A warrior always knows when to put up the sword, pick up the sword. A warrior always knows when to pick up the sword and when to put it down. But that also comes with experience. Warriors have much experience, and through much experience is much wisdom. And like I said, we all have an inner warrior. All right, lighter subject. And it kind of does like, whoa, there's a complete flip. So yeah, gone to that orange, like your warrior. Now let's go to our garden. Again, Brookside Gardens, this was another fountain that I found on my stroll here, which is really beautiful. It's a really nice place. Like I said, if you ever go to Maryland, small botanical gardens, but all kinds of stuff. It's really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. We tend to our garden. So I'll give this some space, some moments of silence, so you can see, if you'd like, what tending to your garden means for you. Yes, tending to our garden, which, whether we know it or not, is something we do all the time. It's actually very similar to filling our vessel, just different play on words, really. So just like what you're feeding your vessel, like with the water, it's also like how we are feeding our garden, with water, with sunlight, with proper food, nutrition, simple things like that. What kind of garden do we keep? Is it something that's clean? Does it give room for other things to grow and thrive and prosper? Or is it something that tends to be barren? Something that tends to grow the same thing over and over and over again, not really much variation, not much change or dynamic. So a lot of metaphors here. But it could also be literal. If you're someone who likes to garden, who already has a garden, then maybe this is something that resonates like, you know what, I'm gonna go tend to my garden today. I'm gonna talk to my flowers, plant some different ones, make sure they're watered, got plenty of sunlight. I'm aware of what the weather's gonna be. Maybe I'm gonna buy some new plants. I love plants too, so I have a few house plants and I talk to them just about every day. So for those of you like me who love the plant kingdom, apparently this has been a lot of my theme today. So yes, tending to our garden, what we're putting into our garden, who we are allowing into our garden, into our environment, into our lives. So again, very similar to filling your vessel, just from a very different, a slightly different perspective, so to speak. But also, what is it that we're growing? So when we fill our vessel with certain things, you know, if we're filling it with fun, with joy, with creativity, with love, with wisdom, awareness, you know, things will grow and they'll eventually sprout from that. And you don't always know what that's going to look like. It may be new friends, it may be new projects, it may be a new job, it may be a new relationship, it may be a new opportunity. You may even totally like, oh, I'm just going to move to a new place, right? There's all kinds of things that can go into that. So tending to our garden is tending to, okay, this is what we put in. These are things I'm noticing that are starting to grow. And maybe we like what's growing. We can't always, you know, try to control what's growing. I know that that is also a tendency too. But when we tend to things, I mean, if you, for an example, like there's a few houseplants that I have, and they both have different, all three of them have different requirements. For the most part, they all need to be watered once a week, but the amount of water, the kind of water is slightly different. The amount of sunlight is slightly different. Some of them seem to grow better if you talk to them. Others want to be left alone. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing with our lives, right? We are constantly feeding certain things and putting things in. So our bodies are a representation of our garden. Like I said, the relationships we have, our literal physical environment, and maybe you have literally a garden. And it's with our awareness, it's like, okay, certain things require more attention than others. It requires some kind of nutrients and things. So, I mean, I would say, this is my perspective, just to be mindful and aware of what those requirements are. It doesn't have to be some big exhaustive task, right? Like even with my plants, like I said, I water them once a week. But as I've gotten to know them, you get to know yourself, know your garden, you kind of get a sense of some things require a little bit more attention, other things do not, to grow and evolve. So tending to your garden, tending to yourself is a way to get to know who you are and get to know the things that are growing and evolving and changing. And similar to what we spoke about with the warrior, it's experience that will allow us to know, okay, this helps things grow. For example, like my orchid, for example, kind of likes being left alone. That's what I get. And it kind of does its own thing. Whereas if I were to sit and pay attention to all the time, I notice it's like, yeah, you know, I don't really need all that attention, right? Whereas I have another plant that likes being talked to, and another plant that, you know, kind of also has a little bit of in between the two. And to be the same thing with your life. There are certain projects that require more of your attention, other projects that do not. Certain relationships require different kinds of attention. And the greatest attention that you always want to have is on you and who you are and what works for you, what nurtures you. Because the ultimate garden is yourself, is your nature, your true nature. So what helps you grow? What helps you prosper? What are you filling your vessel with? With the fun, with the joy, with the relaxation, with the kindness, with the gratitude, with picking up the sword sometimes or putting it down in other instances. And, you know, as we make different choices in our lives and through experience and through greater awareness and making choices, different choices based on that awareness, we begin to see our garden grow. It changes dynamically. We don't always know how it's going to grow. Like I have a peace lily, for example. There are seasons when it blooms, like all kinds of, you know, blossoms or buds, however you want to call it, show up. And there are seasons when it doesn't, you know? Does it mean I'm doing anything wrong or anything right, so to speak? No, I still tend to it as I feel called to, but I also allow it to grow and be as is. And that's also the same example in our lives as well. We tend to ourselves, we allow things to grow, And we don't always know when or how it's going to show up, so to speak, but it does. What we do know is that, kind of like flowers, there are seasons for things blooming and seasons when they don't. For us, there are seasons when our life seems to be a full bloom. And then we have seasons in winter where not so much. Or maybe some of you all are like winter flowers where you bloom really well in the winter, right? In the springtime, you seem a little bit more dormant, So tend to your garden, awareness, experience, and again, tending to your garden is like filling your vessel, the kind of people you have in your life, the kind of food you're eating, the job you have, the projects, everything being a reflection of you, your values, and what you're for. And you can always change it. We've seen this before. Some flowers, some plants, some things in our garden, they die, and that was just what it's meant to be. They came, they went. So we do what we need to do. We plant new seeds. We have new things to grow. And we do what we get a sense of is best to help those seeds grow. And then very important, very, very, very important, we allow life, nature to do the rest, because like with my plants, right? Watering and talking to them in most cases, or some of the time, is the best thing. But there's also sunlight. There's also air, and I'm not here to control the sun. Hopefully you're not either. So we allow the sun to contribute. We allow the air to contribute. This is also part of tending our garden and tending to our lives. So in this case, we allow nature, we allow life, we allow spirit, we allow other people to contribute to us growing on this life's journey. We allow other things to contribute to our garden growing and thriving. So we're not just here to do it alone and just, feed ourselves. Yes, feed ourselves, but we allow other things, other gifts to come in as well to contribute to our garden growing. So yes, an invitation. Let's tend to our garden. It can look beautiful like this. Your garden can look however you want it to look. But these are the elements that I'd like to invite you to consider if you'd like about tending to our garden. And like I said, one of the most important things that even I can forget is allowing other people, other things to contribute to the garden growing as well. Yay! And then this is another twist. You know how this might kind of seamlessly go in, but look, we have another garden. And I wanted to go for the labyrinth theme. And if you notice, it does look like a maze and maybe like a labyrinth, but I don't think that's a path you see. I mean, there's a path, right? There's the green path, and I thought it was a sidewalk, but I think it's water actually. So I don't know if people walk in this or if they just look at it, but anyways, the mythic path. So you tend to your garden, you've got fun, you've got joy, relaxation, you've got your inner warrior, you've got whatever it is, whatever else, you got going on. I did my best to see how this would go sequentially, and it kind of works in its own unique way, I guess. I'm just gonna go with the flow, so to speak. So one of the things that we do notice as we are more in tune with what's true for us, what we want to fill our vessels with, how we tend to our garden, the things that we want to put into our lives, especially at this time and that we're in, is that, we may realize that we're very different and we're not taking a normal path, because I'm sure any of you who resonate with this are not normal anyway, or we're meant to be quote unquote normal. When I say normal, it's basically everything that society wants you to be, or anything your culture wants you to be, or your nation wants you to be, or anything of those typical identifiers of what it means to be blah, blah, blah in this world, right? Everything has a point of view about it. So one of the things you may realize is you're more in tune with who you are and you're feeding yourself what's true for your true nature, is that you do end up on this mythic path. It's a path that you're kind of creating as you go. It can be the road less traveled, or as I found, the road never traveled. Sometimes I do find myself on the road never traveled before. But that's not a bad thing, as much as it can be scary for its own reasons. So if you resonate with that, look, I'm here with you. We're all treading our own unique path amongst this beautiful tapestry of the human experience. And sometimes it looks very different. And so, yeah, it can look like this picture right here, right? It's beautiful. It really is. I'm sure though, when you're walking in it, if let's say you can walk in it, right? You kind of don't know where you're going. Or you seem like you're going somewhere and you're walking to a dead end, another dead end. And you see here, you can just see how sometimes it seems like you're going somewhere, but you could be walking in circles. And that's pretty much life, right? I mean, when you are treading your own path and being who you are, this mythic path can look very much like a labyrinth. You're just not sure where in the world you are sometimes. You being you is quite a gift that most people don't get to experience or don't choose to experience. So yeah, it makes for quite a journey, I would say. But part of the mythic path, these are just a few points that I have. There are many, many more you can probably see for yourself, is embracing your quirks or the things that make you different, right? Like, I don't mind dancing at night in the middle of the street because nobody's out. I know that sounds quirky for some people, but that's what I love to do. Sometimes I'll even sing, right? So, I mean, for me, that might be quirky. For some people, they're like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. Like talking to yourself. I do that. I know that most people talk to themselves, I think, and answer themselves too, which is something else I will do sometimes. So really, the mythic path is your path. It is embracing what makes you different and what you find quirky. And I call it quirks. But quirkiness is not, it's not a knock. It's nothing wrong. It's nothing bad. It's just part of what makes you unique. And some people may call it a quirk, but that's them. What other people think of you does not have to be what you think of you. In fact, let you choose what you think of you, not what other people think of you. Please, 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 please. Because you're going to find that many people have many opinions and many points of views about who you are and who you should be. I know, because I've lived that most of my life. And then you realize it doesn't work and it holds you back, and you have the ability to make choices that maybe they never could or they don't want to, but make the choice to be you, including all your quirks and all the things you think are not so great about you, because chances are they are what makes you great. Because when you can be you and you can embrace who you are and you can embrace your quirks, you do expand out to new possibilities. And you know what? You start to find there are other people who, if they're like you, right? That's one thing, but they receive who you are. They actually appreciate who you are. And you can appreciate who they are because chances are they also embrace their quirks. They're also expanding out to new possibilities. New people, like I said, you're being you leave the crowd, new things do show up, even if there are moments of solitude and loneliness. New things do show up, new awareness, new possibilities, and like I said, new people. So maybe you're on the labyrinth or the mythic path, like you see here in this picture, and then suddenly you meet someone like you or someone similar, someone you can relate to who's also walking around and like, well, where the hell am I going? I don't know where I'm going. I'm like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going either. Maybe we can go together for some time. And maybe you do. There's losing my words. There are people who join us for parts of our journey. Yeah. There are people who join us for parts of our journey. Some stay with us the entire journey. Some stay with us for a season. Some just a quick moment, right? So that's part of embracing who you are and the path that you've created for yourself. And it doesn't have to be a mythic path. You can call it whatever path you want to call it. But it's all an opportunity. It's all a journey. I know for me, I've learned a lot of people come in and out of my life, for better or for worse, right? But it's one of those things where change is going to happen whether I like it or not. So I can ride with the wave or let the wave ride me. Either way, the wave is here, the wave is coming, and they're always coming. So as I've gone along in my life, I've begun to embrace more and more of those changes and the people who do come in and out. Because if there's anything that's constant for me, it's who I truly am. It's my spirit. It's the spirit I embody, the spirit that I'm grateful for. the spirit of me that is unique and is meant to be a gift here on this planet, whatever that ends up looking like. I mean, from day to day, who knows, right? But that's just not me. That may be you too. I mean, I think that's all of us, you know? We all have quirks. We're all on a mythic path. We're all into the unknown. And like I said, some moments, there are periods of time that require healing. There are periods of time where it seems very fearful because we're breaking out of many things things that we're breaking out of things or ways of being that we used to think we were, right? We used to define ourselves a particular way. We used to try to fit in with our friends, with our families, with our communities, you know? And I think there was a time and place for fitting in. And then there's a point where you don't fit in. Like you just naturally find yourself fitting in less and less with people. And sometimes that means you just don't want to be around a lot of people or anybody. And so there is that time and space for loneliness and solitude and all of that. And again, it's just all part. I mean, it's a human experience, you know, it's part of it. And so if you're there right now, like, because I go between solitude and engagement right now, you're right where you're meant to be. So, you know, even in this picture, like I said, if you're right at a dead end, you're meant to be at that dead end. You're not going to stay at the dead end forever. I know it may seem like you walk into another dead end, because I know that's kind of how some of my life has been. Parts of my life have been like that the past, you know, whatever, few years. Dead end, it seemed like I'm getting somewhere, another dead end, like, okay, what's going on here, right? But there are also moments I trust and I have faith, and I think that Mother Earth has been very kind to grant me some guideposts that you're always where you're meant to be. This doesn't last forever. And if you didn't know it, a Maserati just passed by. And for those of you who don't know, Maseratis are like a spark for me. You know, everyone has that spark that, oh my gosh, like that good luck thing, or that thing you can't explain, but it's enlivened you and it just lets you know that it's a great day. Maseratis are like that for me. And I've been seeing them a lot lately. So I am very grateful for that. So yes, one more time, the mythic path. We're not returning to normal. We are shedding, breaking away from all of those things that made us normal, all those things that made us fit in, all those forms and structures and definitions and identities that we used to hold on to, we used to be. So all of that seems to fall apart. We start embracing more of who we are, the quirks that are still there, no matter who or what that is, and we expand out to new possibilities. And like I said, that might be new people, new places. It might be a totally new perception of who we are. But the mythic path is such the mythic path. And who knows, you know? Like me, I love dragons, I love unicorns, I love all those fantasy characters. You might just run into some other cool stuff along your journey as well. It's not just, you know, a labyrinth of dead ends. It can be other really awesome things showing up in your life as well. So we're all on a journey. We might as well embrace it. Awesome. So speaking of the mythic path, when you are on the mythic path, let me tell you, magic. And when I say it's not as woo as it seems, it is not. When you are who you truly are, when you are following your path, you can call it the mythic path, whatever path, that is the moment, time, and space, magic is more likely to show up. In fact, magic, as I'm going to read in this book, The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, is as I said, it's not as woo-woo. It's actually more readily available to us than we realize. It's just that I think, and the book has a good perspective, it seems hidden from us because of the society we're in, the type of world we're in that just squashes magic. We think that magic only belongs to certain people or places or things, right? We have to go to some place to experience magic, or only people who, like I said, magicians have magic, certain people have magic. There's a lot of judgments about magic, a lot of points of views about magic. And all of those things, what do they create? They create limitation. And let me read you from the book, The Gene Keys. If you get this book, what I'm going to read is the 60th gene key. And the shadow of the 60th gene key is limitation. The gift is realism, and the city is justice. So I'm going to read from the shadow perspective and then a little bit of the gift perspective. We talk about magic. So this is what I'm going to read. Read this sentence here. Magic refers to events that do not follow logical sequential laws. Magic is spontaneous, highly mutative, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. Its greatest quality is that it is beyond meaning or understanding. The 60th shadow is the greatest critic of magic. Its single purpose is to control the flow of life and prevent anything original from occurring. And as I said, the 60th shadow is limitation. Limitation. So one of the things that hinders us from experiencing magic in our lives, like right here, right now, are how we judge magic to be and our point of view about magic. If we think that magic is only reserved for a certain amount of people, then chances are magic's not going to show up. If we think magic is, just woo or out there, then I think it reduces our chances of magic showing up. So magic does exist, it does. But then, if we get too much in how the magic has to show up, magic can only be money, magic can only be a certain thing, magic can only be, the man, the woman of your dreams, magic can only be the dream home, right? I mean, magic could be in the process of those things, but magic, as we said, is spontaneous, highly mutative, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. It doesn't follow logical sequential laws. So it's one of those things that if we start creating ideas of what magic has to be, then we've already squashed the magic. You gotta have, and I'm gonna read a little bit more. This also ties into thinking. So this is another quote from the shadow aspect of limitation. Of course, the greatest limitation of all is human thinking itself. This is where the 60th shadow tries to strangle life at the individual level. Because of our cultural conditioning, your mind gets used to thinking within certain mental structures and you become comfortable within those structures. That's part of it. We have mental structures, mental judgments on what magic is, what it isn't. And so then, well, it's our minds that can actually squash magic. Now, inspiration, this is actually tied into another gene key, but I'm going to read it for the sake of purpose. Inspiration is what occurs when your mind momentarily breaks out of its habitual structures. Most people, for example, do not think magically. That is to say, they do not leave the door ajar within their brain so that inspiration may creep in at any moment. So magic can be inspiration, like something that, whoa, that's so cool, it comes out of nowhere. Magic. The main reason for the death of magic is closed circuit thinking, where the mind follows familiar patterns or systems of thought around and around without the ability to think beyond them. It is out of this closed circuit thinking that all self-limiting forms are ultimately brought into the world. So that can give us a clue of how we ended up in the society we're in today, right? Thinking, closed circuit thinking. And it can be our closed circuit thinking and all these structures and limitations that we've created that can actually destroy the ability for magic to show up. So that is one of the elements. Now let me see if I can find the other part. So now this is entering the gift of realism. And this is where, from this perspective, common sense is magic. It's actually having an open mind. So let me make sure that I can find this. So let me read from this. Actually, realism in its truest sense always involves magic. So it's interesting how the Gene Keys looks at realism, because how this perspective of realism is very different from how our society tells us realism is, right? Time to get back to reality, right? How many times have we heard that? Or that's not real. And so it's interesting how we allow our society to put a twist on words to tell us what real and what isn't. And from this book's perspective, which I highly resonate with, realism includes magic. Magic can only be common sense. And I, when I read this, I was like, it took for a moment for that to sink in, right? And to consider that possibility, because well, I'm used to realism like the society tells realism as it is, right? And there really isn't magic. Or if there is, like I talked about in the beginning, it's not magic, it's limitation. You can only have magic if you're this and that. It can only show up this way. Well, that's not magic. That's limitation. That's closed circuit thinking, as I talk. So here's another thing that I'm going to read, the second sentence. We know from modern quantum physics that all matter is made up of vibrating energy fields. Therefore, all structures in the world of form are really an illusion. They are frameworks through which something unexpected may occur. The only thing needed for magic to occur is some form of structure and an open mind. So that's it. Some form of structure and an open mind. Then that's the perspective from the book. You can always choose to agree with it, choose not to, but this, again, reading on, this may seem a surprisingly simple set of criteria, but it is rarely found in the world. We usually see people burdened by the weight of the 60th shadow. That is, people toting great impressive structures and systems, but so identified with and attached to their structure that it throttles the original idea. We humans are not comfortable with uncertainty, and we do not trust in magic. Thus, we cling to our systems, religions, laws, and modes of thinking. So, and then go on to read a different quote here. Common sense is not in opposition to magic. It is common sense to remain open-minded to everything in the universe, because everything has at its core the same wondrous inner light. So that's magic. Magic, it's always available to us, right? We just can't get so caught up in when it shows up or how it shows up, but it does show up. Magic and miracles might as well be the same thing. They are available to all of us, no matter who we are, no matter what is going on in our lives. It just takes that break in thinking and letting go of those forms and structures and ideas, what we think magic is, or even what we think our lives have to be like. Because one of the things that we noticed that I've noticed, and I've noticed in other people, when you become more of who you truly are, you kind of let go of a lot of form and structures of how you think life has to be. And when you get over how things have to look, and that doesn't mean there are things that you'd like to experience in life. Don't get me wrong. It's not about that. There are things that we would like to create, right? Like we talked about earlier, fun, joy, relaxation, abundance, prosperity. Those are things, right? That's what I would say is that bit of structure, right? That idea, without having to get bogged into exactly what certain things have to look like. So magic can creep in when we're in an energy of open-mindedness. We're in an energy of peace, when we are in a space of calm and gratitude, right? Because that's enough space. That's something that we embody, but it's not getting so caught up into what it has to look like. We're not getting so caught up into the details of things. We have something specific, but we're not too specific, okay? So yeah, magic or miracles. I guess I might do a different one on miracles next time, because it might be slightly different, but yeah. And we each have an idea of, oh my gosh, that was magic, right? Like, that was magic. I just saw an eagle today, like out of nowhere, or something else that happens that might seem like, whoa, not expected, completely illogical, but totally happened, So again, magic's not as woo-woo as it seems. It's common sense. I would say magic is very real. It can be a part of all of our realities if we are just willing to ultimately keep an open mind, keep the spirit of an idea, continue to tend to our gardens, what's true for us, and be open to possibilities, what we're creating. I love this picture here because it kind of does look magical. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I didn't take that picture. But as I said, yeah, keep an open mind to magic. And I hope that excerpt from a Gene Keys perspective helped you see, it's helped me see just how real magic is and the possibility of it occurring. You just can't, make it show up a certain way, right? It's mutative, uncontrollable, but it's very common. It is when we have an open mind. A little bit of form and structure, or no form and structure, depending on how you look at it, but keep an open mind. All things are possible. I mean, simply put, be open to possibilities. Really open to possibilities. Be open to possibilities. Magic can and it does show up. All right, yay. Speaking of stars and magic. All right, the galaxy from my point of view. Normally I think in my past recordings, I've had, galactic updates and everything. Usually Zolkin cosmology. And I don't have as much as I would like a picture, like say of a good picture of like say the day in the Zolkin cosmology, or the day and what this timekeeping system is and that. I've looked at different things, planetary transits, like I said, Zolkin cosmology, there's Western astrology, Vedic astrology, all kinds of stuff out there that I've looked at that, you can look up for yourself just to see, hey, what's going on in our world and in the cosmos, the universe, the galaxy that we're in. So the galaxy, from my point of view, as I said before, a lot of stuff is changing. What is going on in this planet, as I said, is I get a huge sense is what's going on with other planets in our solar system and probably other parts of our galaxy. I actually think our whole galaxy is probably going through a big shift and a big change, and we are a part of it. And the next, I think there's a few landmarks time-wise, at least on our, I think we're on a Gregorian year. 2027 is supposed to mark a big year. 2030, obviously 2020, we knew what kind of year that was. And I think I don't perceive much after 2030 right now. I'm not looking that far ahead, but definitely from now, 2027 and beyond, there's going to be a lot of change. And because we're all made up of the same stuff, we are literally made up the same stuff of the stars, planets, everything else. So what goes on, quote unquote, out there is going to go on, quote unquote, in here on this planet, maybe even our bodies for some of us who are very sensitive and privy to that. So right now, yeah, things are pretty rocky. I'm sure COVID stuff does not help. And I think as our planet continues to travel about the galaxy, we're going to see a lot more shifts because the planet herself, she's changing, she's growing and evolving. And I think, I know there's a lot of discussion, debate on climate change, this and that. The planet is changing. I don't want to get into the politics of climate change. That's definitely not my thing. But the planet herself is changing as we're all changing. And is there are there ways that we could, treat the planet better? Yeah. And what I would say is start treating ourselves better. Start being kinder to ourselves and start being kinder to other people. And I think, Mother Earth might really appreciate that. So that's what I can say simply. Tend to your garden, invite more fun, more joy, more relaxation. You're in a warrior. Know when to pick up the sword and make a stand for yourself. Know when to put it down. Honor yourself. Honor yourself on your good days. Honor yourself on your off days, off weeks, off months, even if this is an off year, If we really took the time to care for ourselves, to honor ourselves, to go embark on the journey, even if on the mythic path, if we're called to it, even if that means that the path that we're alone, yeah, it doesn't mean that things aren't going to get rocky, and doesn't mean that some of us are not. There are some people out there who are intentionally destroying the planet or trying to manipulate the planet. I do think there are, and things going on that I don't agree with. But gosh, it just starts when we wake up in the morning, right? And what are we grateful for? Or can we at least, if we're having a crappy day, be honest with ourselves about it instead of trying to hide it or project it onto other people. You know, we can't stop things from changing. We can't control. Change is going to happen, whether we choose to change or something changes us. You know, we choose to change, or just the nature of the planet changing and the cosmos change, the universe changing, excuse me, is going to change. So start with being kinder to you and being kinder to other people, being true to yourself. That's what I work through a lot. And it's not one of those things where everything is going to be quote unquote good, but it doesn't have to necessarily be bad. People are going to think differently. People are going to act differently. You know, things may get a little more hectic. But if we want to see a greater planet, I mean, look, Mother Earth has already given us every reason to say we have an opportunity to create something different, something greater. And I think if I had to be honest, everyone has their own point of view about the planet. This is only my point of view. You have to choose whatever you choose to know for you. But I know she has something greater planned and in store, no matter what is going on with this society. It's just a matter of us choosing for ourselves what the world that we would like to live in, the planet that we would like to have. Because whatever it is we would like to have is available. If we want to see a kinder world, a more inclusive world, truly, no matter the choices that people make, and I mean that, because people are not going to choose the same things that you and I choose. Okay, and that's not just with the stuff going on with COVID and climate change and politics and everything else. People are not, you know, but yet Mother Earth has allowed all different points of views and all different personalities to be here, right? She's given us that space, and she's given us a space for us to create something different, because I think she herself is kind of already there. You know, I think she has a great intelligence and a great beauty and a great strength. Otherwise, I mean, we wouldn't be here, right? We wouldn't have agreed to commune with her and be a part of her. So I think there is that opportunity there for all of us to choose that. But it starts with all of us individually, and being kind and being honorable and realizing who we are, the love that we are, the essence of who we are. You know, there's only so many words I guess I could really say there, but that's just my perspective. Everyone's, you know, free to agree with their own perspective, because I know everybody has a point of view, and that ought to be respected. I mean that. I just think if we really want to see a greater world and a greater planet, we have to start with ourselves and how we treat ourselves, like on a moment-to-moment basis. It's not just our social media profiles or what we do at work or how we're trying to project a certain quote-unquote brand or some other crap on the world. It's not something, it doesn't have to be that. It's just, like I said, when you wake up in the morning to when you lay your head down at night, how much have you chosen to honor you? How much have you chosen to love you? How much have you chosen to be kind? Are each of us gaining more wisdom and awareness? And you know what? Some of us, like myself, have been plunged really deep underwater at times and not sure we're ever going to see the surface again. And I know I've been, you know, like I said, I've been bobbing my head sometimes in certain spaces, right? Because a lot of change is going on with me. But are we willing to just continue on and not give up, even when things seem at times really bleak, or we're just not sure how things are going to get better? You know, there are moments where we honor ourselves just by staying the course, by deciding, you know what, I'm going to keep going. No matter how much I cry, no matter how much I get angry, no matter how depressed I get, there's something in me that says just keep going, you know? Examples like that. Of course, I've been there too, plenty of times in my life. At the same time, when I'm happy and I see heaven in a wildflower, because let me tell you, that is literally there available right when we walk out of the door. I mean, my gosh, like that's a possibility. And not just a possibility, but a reality that does exist. Like literally, there are worlds of possibilities all around us all the time that we have available to choose. It's just a matter of being magic, right? Open mind, you know, get out of the closed circuit thinking. And when you're in those dark moments, honor the moments when you're in the dark moments. And if you need help, you need a hand, you ask. Or sometimes there are moments where you just got to be in the dark for a bit and trust that you'll get out of it. I know when I'm in it like that, I typically, talk to a tree or something. Or commune with nature in some way, and that always helps. Or I look at the stars at night, or I've been doing, I go outside late at night and I go dance, because it's fun to do that. So I know I went a little bit of a rant there, I guess, but the galaxy, yeah. It's going to go through some changes, some ups and downs, some highs and lows, and that's going to be us too. Mother Earth may herself be going through some dark moments for herself too. And we honor her for that as we honor ourselves for that. I know week coming up, I believe new moon is next Sunday, August 8th. So that I can tell you about the new moon. I don't have, I haven't looked at all my transit sources that I look at yet. I know I gotta get to that. Because otherwise I really like looking at that kind of stuff just to see where certain planets are and things. And I'm sure if you go to your favorite astrologer site, or even look at an astronomy site, or whatever it is that you do, you can find something. But I mean, it's all gonna be the same thing. There's gonna be a lot of change. And we kind of know that. But it's how we ride the wave, or sometimes the wave rides us. It's just, I keep going back to that word honor. How much are we honoring ourselves and honoring other people where they're at? We may not always agree with it. We may not always understand it, but it's honor. It's honor and realizing who we are, I will say, I don't want this to get too long on this part. In Zolkin cosmology, it's a different cosmology, kind of like the Mayan calendar, but not. Their new lunar year just began on July 25th. The year previously, interestingly enough, was a lunar storm. So if you know anything, lunar in Zolkin cosmology is about, basically, it's polarization, challenge, and stability. So something's very polarizing, something's very challenging. A storm's a storm. And I think that pretty much matched July 2020, July 2021 was very much an epitome of a storm, right? Many different kinds of storms. Volatility, turbulence, and then you have the lunar, the number 2, polarity, challenge, something looking to stabilize itself. There was a lot of that. Me personally was very stormy as well. And yeah, coming out of that has been quite an experience. So if you notice the past 12 months were relatively stormy, well, at least in the Zolkin cosmology and their version of a new lunar year, it was a very stormy, challenging, polarizing year from, I think, again, it's like end of July 2020, July 2021. So this new year is a yellow electric seed. Electric being the number 3. The yellow seed is, some of the attributes are flowering, target, and awareness. So we were just in this very polarizing, challenging, volatile, turbulent year, as the nature of a storm can be, and now we're at the seed. So something has a possibility of blooming. Awareness is a big thing. So it's possible that some new awareness arises. This could reflect to the collective, maybe the collective will have more awareness. Something new could possibly flower. But personally, I think this may only resonate more personally, because oftentimes our lives, I know people who resonate with what I'm saying probably don't reflect always how everybody else is choosing and the collective. So I would say personally, I don't do absolutes, and I'm not too familiar with doing lunar stuff. But I would say to consider, with just based on what I got, my perception of the yellow electric seed, so this would be July 2021 to July 2022, is that we talk about the seed, and look, all these flowers and things that I've had today, something new has the possibility of flowering. Perhaps after the storm, if you've had a very stormy year, most of us have in some way, after a storm is gone, it usually leaves something new in its wake. Now, sometimes there's a lot of damage. I get that. That can happen too. But sometimes a storm with all the rain and everything, even some of the turbulence can leave some fresh air, some new things to grow. So whatever's going on in your life, if there's something that you've looked to start growing or flowering, maybe they're, again, tending to your garden, you've tended to your garden, you've done the best you can, still haven't seen anything pop up yet, maybe it's possible this is a year you start to see some things begin to flower. Maybe there's something you're targeting this year, a target you want to hit. Flower, I think again, it's flowering, target, awareness are some of the attributes of the yellow seed. Perhaps this is a year you hit that target. And then big one, awareness. Greater awareness, greater consciousness. This may be that opportunity as well. And not that last year didn't bring that, but this year might be a greater opportunity for you to have that. Greater awareness and greater consciousness in some area of your life. Flowering in some area of your life, and then hitting a target, a new target, hitting a new mark in your life. The seed, growing, blossoming, blooming. So I would say this is that possibility this year for each of us. I don't know, it's just a possibility. We'll see what happens. A lot can happen. There's still going to be some turbulence. I do know that because of change happening. But let's see, let's plant some seeds, water when we need to, and allow life, allow the sun, the air, all these other things to contribute, to help those seeds grow, to help new things flower, to help new awareness, new consciousness grow in certain places of our lives that we may not have thought possible. Now the number 3, the attributes I think in the Zolkin number 3, because I don't have it in front of me, are activate, bond, and service. I'm not quite familiar with too much of the numerology behind the Zolkin, but the one thing that came out to me with the number 3, and it's electric, activate. So this is an opportunity for something to activate. So something may activate our flowering, activate our awareness, our consciousness, something, if there's something may activate in our lives individually, is what I'm saying. It may just turn on, but you talk about electrical current, movement, change, Trinity. There's so much about the Holy Trinity, but what I get from electric is some movement, some change, and something activating. I'm not familiar with the service and bond part. I've not been studying Zolkin cosmology very long. I probably need years to really look at it to actually, say I really know something. But from my current awareness and my current perception, this is what I have right now. So I would say this year on an individual level has a greater opportunity to start seeing some things we would like to see, perhaps. The collective, I don't know. And that doesn't mean there isn't going to be some challenges come what may, because we're already starting to see that. Certainly, if you watch a lot of mainstream news, we've already seen that, and that may continue to happen. But there's only so much you can do about the collective. There is something you can do about you. You can always choose something different for you. And like I said, I think the yellow electric seed may be for an individual purposes. And so I know that as challenging as things can be in the outside world, that we not lose sight that we are continuing to grow and evolve and change. And going back to that mythic path, the mythic path, being who you are, does offer more magic. And I think if the year is aligned in the Zolkin like it could be, then something is going to get activated within each of us individually. And some greater awareness and something flowers. And it does, right? It can. I mean, remember, I think it's the lotus flower that can bloom in the muck, And I know. You look at the collective, we're in a lot of muck right now. People have different perspectives on it. I see a lot of muck, but you know what? Something can still flower, and that can be you. And despite what what society throws at everybody, you know, that doesn't mean we can't bloom. That doesn't mean we can't flower. It doesn't mean that, you know, something can't get activated, that creates something greater that really embodies a world we like to see, you know, instead of a world that, you know, wants to segregate people and, you know, all that jazz that we see going on behind the scenes. So take what you will. The galaxy is changing. We're changing whether we like it or not. Change is always happening. So that's my galactic report from Micah's point of view, from my point of view. Thank you all for listening. And then again, next time hopefully I will have some other sources that I can speak from as well that will talk more about transits and other things. But like I said, for now, yes, let's keep it going. This picture is from Butch Art Gardens in Victoria, Canada, 4 years ago. Actually, it's towards the end of the gardens. And I wrote a poem, not based on the picture, but I wrote a poem probably, gosh, it's now a week or two that I wanted to read. And it speaks again on the flowering theme. And I'll just, for actually a moment, let you sit with the picture if you'd like. Just receive what you need to receive from the picture. When I saw heaven in a wildflower, a universe of worlds in a rose, I realized that I could only perceive such beauty because I am that which I have seen. Flowers in so many ways, I mean, they symbolize so many things. Blooming, blossoming, beauty, and we are each a flower. We are each growing, changing, blooming, and, you know, as we know, true too. We flower, and then, you know, eventually that flower changes and it dies. But there's always the opportunity for things to flower and bloom again. So yes, let's see heaven in a wildflower, and may we see, you know, a universal world of worlds in a rose, but also realize that when we can perceive something as beautiful or something as awesome and amazing, and I know there's other sides to that too, but I'm just going to use this as an example. You know, let's remember that we can perceive it that way because that is intrinsically who we are. You know, when you want to find something intrinsically beautiful, you really need, I mean, me too, I mean, it's us, right? We really need to look no further than the one we see when we look in the mirror. That is what's intrinsically beautiful. And we are all intrinsically beautiful. And we can perceive such beauty and such flowers or whatever that brings up because we are that. We are that. We are that. And the adventure continues. Yes. And that's what it is. It's one big adventure. Many twists, many turns. I mean, we can label it or make it however each of us wants to make it. You know, I mean, it's so true, right? Life is really what we make it. It's how we choose to interpret it. And each of us has a different perspective, a different way of being, a different way of living. And it's meant to be that way. Because I mean, gosh, what would life be like if we were all the same? You know, I'm just gonna go back up for a minute. I mean, these are all flowers, right? But they're all different. Not everything is the same. And honestly, that's how I think life is meant to be. We're all meant to be different, but each of us is still beautiful and unique and part of the whole, you know? And that is something that we all remember, is that it is our difference that counts, our uniqueness that counts. That's part of what makes the whole so beautiful, is its beauty and its uniqueness. And each of those flowers, though different, is still a valuable part of the whole. It still contains the same seed of beauty, the seed of intelligence, the seed of awareness, the seed of love. Each and every one of these plants carries that, just like each and every one of us does. So the adventure continues for me. It continues for you. It continues for all of us. And so I thank you all so much for listening. And if you've been watching, I really enjoyed creating this format. I enjoyed talking about it more than I thought I would. So I hope that everyone here who listens, who reads, received something from it as well. Truly honor your point of view and your perspective on life, because like I said, that's what adds to this tapestry of life, is us being different and honoring ourselves for that difference. So again, I keep saying it, our adventure continues, our life continues. And I hope to speak to you all in some way or commune with you all very soon, either online platform, some of you may be in person, or in some other way through email, or just, through the energy of love, because that travels everywhere and infinitely. Yes. And just some other semantics. Hopefully the audio worked, because lo and behold, it would be me, and some technical snafus happen. That would be me, always got to have a sense of humor in life too. I did not mention that. We live life with more sense of humor, that helps too. Even when things get pretty cruddy and sad and depressing, they don't always stay that way. And we can always balance that out with life bringing us something to laugh about. So one more time, again, I thank you all so much. The adventure continues. I will definitely do another post. I think in this format, I really, really enjoyed, and we new content, more stuff, but definitely hope you liked it. If you'd like to subscribe, please share with others who may also be able to receive of this and get a gift or a contribution, whatever that may be. So until next time, ciao, munai, namaste. Bye, ciao, see ya.